right now, there must really be some stupid people in New York City. I honestly do believe this. Just with a little bit of deep diving on Google. One, that new mayor that y'all voted in the other day, he has no control over the rent. None whatsoever. So he lied to you there. He also has no control over the bus, so he cannot make it free. Now, he can suggest, same with the rent, but whether they do it is up to them. But he can't force them into doing it. So, and grocery stores, the free grocery stores, it's a $60 million startup. Where's he gonna get that $60 million from? You think the rich are gonna do it? Yeah, right. The rich are packing up their shit now and moving to other states. They're not stupid. So who's gonna pay it? You are. See y'all on the flip side.
You know, I was doing some research because one of the things that Mom Donnie said was he doesn't really care if rich people in New York decide that they want to relocate to another state. And his reasoning for that was because he said that their businesses are still going to be located in New York City. I don't know where this guy got his education with regard to business and understanding business principles and all of this because, he did that fake smile and everybody fell for it. And I see people that are just diehard Mom Donnie fans. And it kind of reminds me of like an Obama-esque thing when he was coming up and people were actually kind of fawning over his new ideas and the fact that he was younger and he wasn't, had never really did anything professionally or anything like that yet up to that point in his career. And so, when you start to think about it in a radical, super radical ideas, um, he wasn't promising more jobs. He was promising to take over buildings of landlords. He was promising to open up government ran grocery stores. All of that sounds like communism, but then you also got to consider that he has to run all of this stuff through city council. And Kathy Hochul, who also endorsed him, now said that she disagreed with the idea of raising taxes, which she know would decimate New York City's budget, and its tax base is based off of the 1% paying 50% of all of the taxes inside of the state and the city. So when you think about all of these radical promises, and obviously we know that he was elected by super liberal younger white women, it just kind of makes me laugh. But I think that I really do. I think that they deserve it.
I said yesterday on my post about Mondani and being the new mayor of New York City. And I told y'all, don't bring that foolishness down here. I was trying to help you out. I live in Georgia and I'm from Alabama. Alabama said they closed. And I don't want y'all down there no way either because I like to go home. So there are certain things we appreciate down here and certain things we don't appreciate. So I was just trying to make sure you knew what to expect when you came down here. But I wasn't clear, so let me make myself clear. The things we love down here, we love God. We go to church a lot. We got a church on every corner. And the church across the street could be named the same name as the church across the other side of the street. All right? So just know that we got Lutheran, Baptist, Holiness, Pentecostal, Catholic. We got all of them down here. We love going to church every Sunday. Then we like to eat after church every Sunday. And we like Sunday dinner. We love guns. Everybody got a gun. So just trying to let you know, you never know who you're running up on, so be careful because you got that concealed license. You don't even know they got it. But just be aware that the pew-pew is on the side most times. Be surprised, a lot of us down here like Donald Trump. So be aware, that may make you feel uncomfortable. A lot of us like the Confederate flag, and we fly the American flag. Every house got an American flag on it, so you may not like that. I was trying to help y'all out because my daddy over there already asking for money. And it ain't been 24 hours since he been in office.
I seen a video where it was some super liberal white women, and they were gay, which is I don't really care as long as you're not pressing your views and your values on other people and trying to put it in our schools. But it was some super liberal white women, and they had moved from their incredibly liberal city, which I believe at the time was like Ann Arbor, and they said that their friends were telling them, "Oh, don't move over there. You know, they don't like us or whatever." And then they moved over into a place and they found it to be way more refreshing because they were way more welcoming than what you experience inside of a liberal city. And so the thing that people are super worried about is the place that they live in being infiltrated and changed based off of these liberal policies and these ways in which people are living. They say don't turn our place into where you came from, right? When you start to leave or when you start to run, now we know that billionaires and millionaires, most of them, they can get on up out of there, especially when, you know, their net worth is not tied into the home that they own in that particular city. But they don't want y'all turning their space into the space that you running from, and they're absolutely like they are about that life. You know what I'm saying? The same rules don't apply, but they're more welcoming, and they actually mind their business, and it's cool. And at Southern Hospitality, one of the places that I love visiting is Mississippi. I'm a stand on that. I've always been treated incredibly well in Mississippi, and I love it. I absolutely love it down in Mississippi, but it's a different type of environment.
I wasn't trying to stop y'all from being great. So down here, you may feel a little uncomfortable. Come down here, we like what we like. You like what you like. So make sure you pick a place that fit and make you feel comfortable and happy. All right, hope that helps.
So whenever I try to give someone an objective explanation on why Zohran Mamdani's policies around housing and the cost of living will likely make the crisis worse in New York City, I'm immediately met with people claiming that the laws of supply and demand don't pertain to housing. So I created some charts to explain in this video exactly how supply and demand works within the housing market as well as in municipal economics. Markets are made up of price and quantity, and for there to be any market, there needs to be two sides of the market, the supply side and the demand side. The supply side in the housing market is made up of landlords and developers. And the supply side is greedy. It wants to be able to charge as much as possible for as many units as possible, so it has a positive relationship between price and quantity. The higher the price, the more quantity they're going to want to try to provide in the market. The demand side is made up of renters, and renters try to be as cheap as possible. They try to get as much as possible for as little as possible. So the demand curve has a negative relationship between price and quantity. The higher the price, the less they want it. The lower the price, the more demand there'll be for it. No one side gets to control prices within the market. It's where the two of them meet in the middle, which dictates market price. And the point at which they meet is called equilibrium. It's important to understand that supply and demand curves can shift based on external factors. A perfect example of this would be New York's real estate market during COVID. P1 represents what the average price of an apartment was in New York City prior to COVID. Then when COVID hit, the demand curve shift in. There was significantly less demand for rental units, so prices were lowered. At the same time, so many people were moving out of the city, supply shifted to the right. There was suddenly a huge increase in supply, so prices lowered even more. And this is why the housing crisis is a supply side issue. So objectively, in order to decrease rent, you need to increase the supply. And a big part of increasing the supply is to take away regulations that make it incredibly hard and incredibly expensive to build more inventory in the city. But that takes a lot of hard work to do. But instead of doing the hard work required to shift the supply curve to the right and decrease prices, what Mamdani plans to do is artificially cap the price with rent freeze and an extension of the rent stabilization policy. This splits the supply and demand side curves away from its equilibrium. This in turn reduces the supply of affordable housing while the demand maintains the same, and the split you get creates a shortage. What you very quickly see are two things: stunted inventory growth, there's no building of new units because it's no longer profitable to rent them, and a sharp increase in the price of rent for any non-rent controlled or rent stabilized unit. To simplify the problem even further, imagine that there is a building with 30 rent units in it, right? And 10 of them have their rent frozen. The operating expenses of that building still maintain the same. So in order to be able to run the building and meet overhead, you need to raise the rent on all the other units to subsidize the units that have a freeze on them. So at best, these policies create winners and losers, and at worst, they create only losers.
What he's basically explaining is that because of what a lot of people don't understand about New York City, also on top of what he's saying is that there's a lot of vacancy inside of New York City because of bad policy that Zoran Mamdani actually wants to embrace and increase. And so what they're trying to do is freeze the rent, which then essentially force landlords to say, well, we don't want to rent out to these people, and so we're going to wait until either the next administration or policy change or whatever, or maybe we'll just try to sell the building. But either way, we're not going to rent to people that cost us more money. It's probably more profitable for us to stay out of that business and start pivoting and having a completely different concept, which does not help New York City and it doesn't lower costs. It's a supply versus demand issue. I don't even know why I'm trying to explain this, because it doesn't even matter to people that don't care anything about it. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.